Hey neighbors, we are here again with part 2 of our discussion with Dr. Kara Adams. We would like to, continue the conversation. Hey Carol.
Hey.
Thanks for staying. Thank you for continuing because,
I could talk about South Shore all day.
Let's do it. So talk about some of the programs over your expanded verse experience that you feel that were like super impactful, you are most proud of, and what would it take if we did it again today?
Okay. Well, one of the things...
And some of it may be today, so let me just not say that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. One of the things I'm proud of that we did in South Shore was we did the City of Chicago's first neighborhood cultural district plan. Mm. We did something called the South Shore Cultural District Plan, where we got together with organizations like ETA and others and said, hey, what do we want culturally in our community? What do we want in the arts and what have you? And it gave forth a lot of programs between that and the Neighborhood Institute and us working together to activate spaces in South Shore. And I always tell people we need to activate space. So, for example, we activated the theater space at the Bryn Mawr Church.
Oh.
Okay. I was also involved in the school. We started called Ujima Learning Center that was in the lower level of the Bryn Mawr Church, an Afrocentric, independent, Pan-African school.
Okay.
So, but one of the things I also think brought a lot of people to the neighborhood was the jazz. Okay. Mm-hmm. And me and an associate, Robert Page, we started an organization called Everyday Art. He was an artist that lived in South Shore. He was very much a part of the arts movement, Afro-Cobra, all of that, visual artists. Mm. And we started Everyday Art to say we need to bring art into the everyday lives of people. Already at that point, we were beginning to see vacant storefronts. So we had the idea of putting art in those windows and all of that. We had the idea of having arts to be able to sell their work at the cultural center. And so we had the first concerts there. Mm-hmm. Under Everyday Art. We got funding from the feds.
Really?
From the National Endowment of the Arts under a grant called Community Spirit. And we had these concerts. It was the first time that people came behind the barrier of South Shore Country Club for concerts, to be able to picnic, listen to music, all of that. Now, it subsequently got taken up by our other major arts diva, Geraldine DeHaas, who was a great singer, but also she was an organizer. And so we started, and she started really, but we supported something called Jazz Comes Home. Because when Paige and I did Everyday Art, and we had artists come, they were all local artists. They were people from the AACM, they were well known, but they were all local. Mm-hmm. When it got up to Geraldine DeHaas, she brought international talent and national talent because she was known like that. And she knew the people and she could call them about coming and performing in South Shore. Mm-hmm. So it got to be huge.
Like I heard Count Basie was there.
A lot of people. McCoy Tyner. I mean, a lot of people that everybody wanted to come and see. Dorothy Donegan, people like that were performing right in our neighborhood. Mm-hmm. They brought a lot of people to our community as well. So she kept that up there for quite a while. And then for 1 year, it sort of fell off and it didn't happen. And so I said, hey, I can help with this 1 year. I'm not a Geraldine DeHaas, but she's still around to help me. And she did. She still made contact with people and stuff like that. And the group of people that she had put together, they still stayed together. I just knew other resources to go to for raising money because funding has always been one of my things. So we said, Jazz Comes Home to South Shore to say, hey, we're back. We're back with it. And my headliner was Pharaoh Sanders. And I was really proud of that. And that we were able to bring that back. And that's still something that I lament, and that it just happened for that year. I would really like to see us bring back the annual South Shore Jazz. It brings people to the community. It's part of our legacy. We need to bring it on back.
Yeah, I would like to see it come back too.
Yeah.
I worked with you all on Edge when I
Right.
met you on the last one, and it was a blast.
Yeah,
It was
wonderful. It was the weekend. We had Saturday and Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And we had some of the people who had helped us at the beginning, like Phil Coran and what have you. And we had folks like Pharaoh Sanders that all of us wanted to hear and remember,
Yeah.
Because he was part of our soundtrack.
Yeah.
Those of us that's the 70s folks and all that. So it was really just great. We also did a fundraiser for the Neighborhood Institute once on the South Shore Bank parking lot.
Yeah.
And there we used all local talent. And it was headlined by the Staple Singers because they lived in South Shore.
Okay.
And Don Rashid, who was a radio personality at that time, he was the MC.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I still have those posters and everything. And it was called, oh, you'll love this. Guess what the name of it was?
What?
When Good Neighbors Get Together. That was the name. Because what we were trying to show is everything we need is
It's
here.
right here.
Okay.
Right here.
And that's true today.
Mhm.
Every talent you could possibly think of lives in South Shore.
Exactly.
All we have to do is activate ourselves.
Yeah, let's talk about the current landscape of South Shore. What do you see as our strengths and our weaknesses, or maybe threats? Our strengths and our threats.
Well, our strength is always in the human capital
Mm-hmm.
and who lives there, and in the physical landscape itself,
Mm-hmm.
which is great.
Yeah.
I think our challenge is to, again, maintain, hold on to what we've got, get our numbers back up. See, South Shore used to have 80,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
It's gotten probably 60 or 50,
It's 54.
54 right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've got room to grow.
Yeah,
But we don't have a lot of vacant space like some neighborhoods
Yeah, we
do.
don't.
Okay, and we're in a battle right now about what should happen next.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a person that favors home ownership.
Mm-hmm.
I believe you want to own your neighborhood, you want to own your community, and we need to get those numbers back
Mm-hmm.
by having special offers for people who are first-time home buyers,
Mm-hmm.
the kind of education it takes to help people understand you can buy for what you've been renting for
Yes.
if you do it right. I think we need to do matching services for people who want to sell with people who want to buy.
I love
so we
that
can
idea.
hook them together
Mhm.
up in a particular way, particularly some of the seniors who may want to hold on a little bit longer to their house.
Yeah.
And you might be in a waiting pattern with them, but you all have an arrangement.
Yeah.
Things like that I think are possible. I think as people talk about some of the ideas about trying to make sure that any new housing is at a certain level, I'm really not for that. I'm for a third.
What do you mean new housing?
I mean, South Shore has the highest concentration of Section 8 of any community in the city of Chicago.
Right.
It seems to me that public policy destabilized both South Shore and Chatham, your two major black middle class communities in
Middle
Chicago
and upper class,
were
right.
destabilized in that way. So we need that to spread around.
Exactly.
And we need to work with the families that live in our community to become owners.
Exactly.
Okay, and that's very possible. I spent a great deal of my career at Chicago Housing Authority,
Yeah,
for
let's
example.
talk about it.
And there's a home ownership program.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we need to be working with the residents of our neighborhood and with Chicago Housing Authority to take advantage of that, to raise money if we need to help people with down payment monies and what have you, and let them, because you can use a Section 8 certificate to pay a mortgage. And most people don't know that. They think you can only pay rent. No, you can't. And we need to really beat the bushes, letting people know that, helping people become owners. And when you invest in the community, you are also vested in the community.
Exactly. And then I also just recently heard that, even for project-based Section 8 residents, if they're in that program for 2 years, they can get a Section 8. So imagine if we walk them through that piece, okay, you project based and then you get a Section 8, and while you get the Section 8, you become a homeowner.
We need to work on these things together and not be at loggerheads in the neighborhood about how we create stability. And I think too, often we spend a lot of time trying to focus on how to be good at being poor instead of focusing on not being poor at all.
Exactly.
You know, so we need to really devote ourselves to economic development.
We do.
Look at all those vacancies you see on the street
Business
in
corridors.
the business corridors. We need to concentrate on that. Everything we need that we're going out of the neighborhood for, we need to create it there, support people, and develop the businesses with intention.
I agree.
Because I'm looking now at a business, and I'm not going to name it because I don't want people to feel bad about it, but it's a great business, but it's located by itself. You can't do this one at a time. You got to do this a block at a time. Okay,
You do.
so that nobody's just out there by themselves. By the time they've made, tried to catch on, they'll be out of business because most businesses are not capitalized enough to do without making money for a very long time. But if we worked a block at a time, it would make a difference.
Yeah.
And you can do that when you have a bank behind you. See, that happened once before
We got to
in
get
South
a bank
Shore.
behind us.
Well, because South Shore Bank did that. You had all of these very thriving black businesses on 71st Street.
Yeah.
And you have black ownership of those buildings on 71st Street.
Yeah.
You know, the buildings that I see everybody else owning but us.
Yeah.
You know, and the one that I see that is owned by us is half empty. We need to first go in and fill up her block.
Yes.
Okay, and have businesses there and do what it takes to bring those out-of-date storefronts to the condition that somebody wants to locate there.
Exactly.
And locate ourselves there and be there visible on their street.
What do you think something like that looks like? Because it's a great idea, and as an organizer myself, we have great ideas, but then when it's time to put the metal to the pedal, am I saying that right? The pedal to the metal, it's a different conversation. It's like, okay, this is where we want to be. How do we get there? And I'm asking you that even in terms of like, while you're telling me that, also talk about like the activism when you were like really during the bank and during the cultural center to what's happening now in South Shore, because it's not the same. It's not the same. But I want you to talk about
if I'm giving you the impression that we always got along wonderfully before and we all agreed and we're on the same page, I'm giving you the wrong impression. Because we didn't.
Oh, so
okay.
So let's just say this. So South Shore ain't new to this.
No.
But we still get things done, right?
The point is that you have to stay at the table. You have to trust each other enough to know that if I don't agree with you on everything, I still know your heart and what you want to do. And I know that if we get it to the point where it's something that we can both agree to work on, it's going to be fire. And people need to know that. So our organizations have to be able to stay at the table with each other and work through disagreement. Not have disagreement have us separate, because that's what makes us vulnerable. That old divide and conquer.
It does.
If we understand that all of us are smarter than any one of us. Okay, so I might think my idea is a really great idea, but by the time you put some of your ideas into it and somebody else does and somebody else does, it's probably much better. And even stronger and even more doable because we've all bought in. So we need to spend that time, no matter how much time it takes, at those tables, working things through together instead of deciding, well, then you do that and then I'm going to do this. Or, well, let's take a vote. And 7 people, the dumbest way to make a decision. 7 people decide and 6 people don't want it. How you think that's going to work?
Yeah.
Whereas if you stay at the table long enough and keep refining, and let's work on those things around which we agree, instead of focus our time around those things that we don't agree on. We reach agreement from working together, from doing things together, from learning who's got what strength, and not being divisive.
Yeah. I'm learning something as we speak. as you speak.
That's why I like South Shore working together for a change.
Right, because I'm like, yeah, I'm still at the table, but I have my days. You know, I have my, you know, I have my days.
I know. I have mine.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not that I'm expecting us to be some otherworldly people, but let's just work it through.
Yeah.
And let's just be able to say, listen, don't walk off.
Yeah. And,
you know?
And let's just talk about how the rumors about South Shore, we don't work together. We, you know, they trying to make us the poster child of dysfunction.
Well, I don't know first of all, who they are.
Yeah.
And I don't pay a lot of attention to them.
Exactly.
I think we have to pay attention to each other and be intentional about what we do and just keep working.
But and the thing is, we don't even have a history of not working together. We have a history of coming together. Am I right or wrong on that?
No, we do.
No matter what the infighting is, we always, when it's all hands on deck, do we have all hands on deck?
And then I don't think that, I wouldn't say infighting because that gives it a divisive tone.
Okay.
It's all right for us not to all think the same thing.
That's called a family.
It's all right for us to have different ideas. Again, we can put them together and we can reach a point where we say, okay, we can go for that. Okay, so maybe I don't go for your percentage, but we'll meet in the middle, or we'll do this, or we'll do that, so that we can keep things moving forward. That's what's most important, not to just totally lose out.
Yeah.
Okay, while we are chatting over the small stuff.
You know, knowing that
if
we're not even the real
If it's 100 things and we disagree on 3 of them, people will concentrate on the 3 instead of the 97.
Yeah.
And I said, let's focus on the 97 and keep it moving.
Yeah, let's keep it moving.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, let's looking ahead. How do you envision the future of South Shore? What steps do you believe are necessary to realize the vision?
Well, I just would encourage I'm a woman of a certain age. So, and I see that in my building. We need more younger people moving in and moving back and coming to the community. We need to have our children and our grandchildren take up this fight and put their stakes down. And I always think the grass is greener elsewhere.
Yeah.
They need to buy. You know, I remember a long time ago, I used to be the director at the Center for Inner City Studies down on Oakwood Boulevard. And this was at a time when you could get housing there very, very inexpensively. You could buy. And I would tell people they should buy. You know, buy your grandmother's house. Don't be so quick to move. And see, now the grandmother's house costs them $800,000. Okay?
Right. If
something they could have had for free. Something they walked away from.
Built their generational wealth.
And South Shore is still one of the most affordable communities, getting less so every day. You know, so folks again need to hold on to what you've got. They're not making another one of these lakefronts.
No, they can't even extend
it. It's not coming. It's not doing anything.
Right.
So you better plant yourself, you know. So buy the block, you know, is important.
Yeah, it is.
Hold on to what you got. Those are my phrases for now. We need to do that. I see neighborhoods with far fewer human capital resources progressing far greater because they're working in concentration together to give the resources it takes.
Yeah.
So right now, for example, the city just said, hey, they got to buy the vacant lot program. We better organize and buy those vacant lots.
Oh, we plan to. But yeah, that's the goal.
You know, but quickly, we got to be urgent. This is urgent.
Yeah.
See, sometimes we take a long time for something that we should have pulled the trigger on much before.
We should have been prepared because it's not like they don't do it.
And even when not, then we got to burn the midnight oil. We can't say, well, in 2 weeks we going to meet about this. Because in that 2-week period, somebody came along and bought it.
Yeah, I
so
agree.
There's a sense of urgency that we need to bring to our work.
Okay. So let's talk about the elephant in the room for South Shore, not in this room, but for South Shore, the Obama Center, and how that may affect South Shore.
Well,
talk
to
about
me,
the good. Yeah, like
I wouldn't call it an elephant. I'm not.
Well, I say
of
that
elephants
because it seemed like a
for the
hot
political
topic.
reference.
Yeah,
but I'm very happy that the the Obama Presidential Centers in our community.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be great for us. I think I know the number of people who've been able to get the work. I love that Black people are building it and all the rest of that. I don't think we should be afraid of progress. Okay, I think we should embrace it and look at what does it mean for us? How do we put our resources together and do a hotel on Stony Island?
Not miss the opportunities.
Exactly. And if we just focus on trying to stop stuff instead of focus on trying to start stuff.
And you're not even happy with what you already have.
Hey.
You know what I mean?
This is a bird's nest on the ground. And we need to take advantage of it in every conceivable way. There again, putting resources together. I think about this on the macro and the micro level. I just say to families, put y'all's money together. Have a family credit union. Look at things you can do together. Don't everybody just be separately struggling.
Yeah.
You know, when you can come
separately
together.
Struggling.
Exactly.
But it's true. We need a collective impact.
Exactly. And it comes from collaboration. It comes from pooling resources. It comes from seeing that a part of something is much better than nothing.
Yeah.
So if you don't have all the resources yourself, if you partner with somebody, you can achieve much more. So we need to look at that and look at the people who are doing it and how they're pulling together and support them and learn from them. And we need to teach this to the other generations, even in high school, in grammar school. We need youth entrepreneurship programs.
We do.
So that everybody comes up knowing that they can own, that they can be the employer, not just the employee.
Yes. So in wrapping up, talk to me about, one, how you feeling about South Shore right now outside of buy-in, and how do you think we should be moving forward? You kind of already hit on a lot of this, but what I'm trying to say is, how do you would like to see new people come into the neighborhood and encourage them to come into the neighborhood, even though we have our struggles?
You know, there used to be a program that was run by a woman named Doris Pickens. She used to work at the South Shore Bank, but she also lived in the Bryn Mawr East, and she was the wife of one of those
Football
NFL players. And it was open house, South Shore Open House. And so every year they would sponsor a weekend where they would encourage people to come in, and they would do tours, and they would show them the available housing and all that to encourage people to buy in the community. It was a great idea. It all exists. Her daughter's still around and probably got those materials that her mom had when she ran that program, but she ran it for a number of years. It was very successful. We need to do tours. I remember Yvette Moyo was doing some tours. She had organized and trained some young people in doing them. I think we had some young people from MAPS and other things like that. So we need to look at it and look with the intention of who's going where, who's moving where.
I think that's a great idea. I love that idea.
Yeah.
So I can probably talk to you a whole nother hour or 2 or 3, because I don't think we've ever sat down and digest like this. And I appreciate you taking this time to help the Hey Neighbor podcast talk about South Shore and just give us all the information you're giving us, because I learned a lot today. And I just feel like I need to take you to lunch and we just digress
All right.
about
we'll
everything.
Continue
and just
to
pick
explore
your brain, because it's so much in there. Like if you all don't get a chance to talk to Carol Adams about all the stuff that she know about South Shore, if you haven't, I advise you to sit down, because this is a wealth of knowledge sitting here, and we need to cherish this jewel right now. We need to cherish this jewel, this treasure, South Shore.
Listen,
treasure.
I got what the kids say, I got receipts. So all the information that you might want about what happened, how it was organized, who was on the committee, who funded, who this, who that, I have that.
So I'm gonna sit
Okay.
down and talk with you because we need that. We need that. We need it bad. But again, thank you, Carol. Thank you so much for
And thank you.
blessing me. Thank you, Carol.
All right, and thank you.
Thanks everyone for joining us. We enjoyed our conversation with Carol.
Bye, neighbors.